What's up, guys? My name is Jay Wise, and today we're going to be ranking the servers from worst to best. But beforehand, I feel it's absolutely necessary that we give you a brief history on Need for Speed World. Now, if you've already heard the story and don't want to hear the story again, I'll put the time on the screen and where to go to. Now, if you have not heard the story and you don't want to hear it, well, uncultured swine. Nah, I'm just playing. Time's on the screen. Go ahead, skip it if you don't want to hear it. All right, where was I? Oh, yeah, history. So much fun, right? Need for Speed World started back in July 2010. A great time to be alive. The game ended up being the very first MMO in the Need for Speed franchise. It was an experiment by EA to see what kind of success they might have on the MMO platform. And unexpectedly, at least for EA, they gained a massive amount of success. In just the first 2 months, they gained 1 million registered users, which was no small feat at the time. Just think about it. Back in 2010, an era where gaming PCs weren't common, you will never find them as commonly as you do now. I mean, for crying out loud, now you can just order a gaming PC on Amazon and have it at your doorstep in the first 2 days. 2 years after its release in 2012, they hit 20 million registered users. That's when the world was supposed to end. 1 year after hitting 20 million registered users, the company known as Quickline Games, the ones responsible for development of Need for Speed World, shut down in 2013. EA needed a new company to take over the role of development for Need for Speed World, and the company that was chosen was Easy Studios. The same company that was working on Battlegrounds 4. Was it Battlegrounds or Battlefield? I don't know. Battle Heroes. Is it Battle Heroes? Correct me in the comments, for the love of God. This is where things took a bit of a turn. You see, before Quickline shut down, they were working on a significant map expansion. And I'm talking about, like, they were going to add Need for Speed Undercover into the game, into the map, and they were also going to add Need for Speed Carbon's Canyon to it. The map was going to be significantly larger, but Easy Studios was only concerned with money and focused primarily on revenue. They decided to cancel the expansion and focus on adding new cars. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not so bad. It's not a bad thing, really. I mean, you're adding new cars. That's a cool thing. Wrong! The only way you could purchase the cars was via Speed Boost. Now, Speed Boost is an in-game currency. It was another form of in-game currency that can only be acquired with actual money. And as a result, Need for Speed World ended up being a pay-to-win game. Now, beforehand, Speed Boost was only really used for body kits, appearance packages. It wasn't necessarily used to get top-of-the-line race cars that can only be acquired with real money. And that really took away from the game. The vibe, the experience of an open-world online racing game was ruined and tainted by the idea of microtransactions. Inevitably, EA shut the doors to the game in 2015, leaving an empty world in its wake. But wait! Before you start screaming, what the hell are we doing here? 2 years after its shutdown, players came together and opened up the game again. They created the server, they got it running, and thus, Soapbox Race World was born. Now that you got your little history lesson, let's go ahead and rank the servers. Starting with number 6. Overdrive. The first thing we're going to talk about in every one of these servers is earnings and progression. Usually the most important part when it comes to servers. You want to know how much money you're going to make and how much XP you might make and what kind of progression you can make in, say, a certain period of time. In that department, in races, money and XP aren't actually that bad. In fact, you make more so money in circuits than you do sprints, regardless of how long it might take. For example, here's what I earned at the sprint called Construction Site. And here's what I earned at the end of a circuit called Downtown Circuit. The circuit only took 8 seconds longer to complete than the sprint did. The rewards should be that much different, but they are. In team escapes, you make even more money in XP. Much more. Which is about as much as you might expect when doing a team escape. So, earning is pretty good. Why in the hell is this server number 6? Because of the car dealer and performance upgrades. Now, when I went into the car dealer, I discovered something that made no sense at all. For example, most cars in Class E cost just shy or slightly over 1 million in-game cash. Hell, there's even one that costs 2 million in-game cash, which is just ridiculous. As I went into higher classes of cars in the car dealer, I noticed something odd. All the cars were relatively the same price in every single class. So regardless of class, you're paying around $1 to $2 million for a car, which once again, it just didn't make any sense. Now, I don't understand why it's set up like that, and I'm not gonna bother asking. Now let's talk about performance upgrades and visual customization. Now, when it comes to visual customization, this server is absolute win in my book. It's beautiful. You can do crazy customization too. For example, is Eclipse. As you can see by the Eclipse, it's stupid ridiculous, and it looks so good. It's so well done, and the prices are actually damn good too. They're not that expensive. They're easily obtainable. So obviously, customization is not a problem in this server. However, when it comes to performance upgrades, it's a bit of a different story. Just to get the most valuable engine in the server, you need to have 800,000 in-game cash. I'm talking about a 5-star engine, but wait, there's more. The most valuable transmission will cost you 960,000 in-game cash. It just got worse. So yeah, there are my reasons why Overdrive is number 6 on this list. Moving on to number 5, Underground Stage. First things first, as you might expect, earnings and progression. Money is not that great in this server, but XP is really not that bad. As you might expect, money and XP is better in longer races. Already, earnings is not looking good in this server, and it only gets worse along with XP when you try to do a team escape. Now, in every other server, and I mean literally every other server, you make significantly more money in XP doing team escapes. But in this server, for some reason, you make much less. You make about the same as you would if you did a circuit race. Why the hell that is, I have no idea. That's about the stupidest thing I've ever seen when it comes to server. Now, the only reason this is number 5 on the list is because the car dealer. Starting in Class C, we got the cheap ones. You know, they're actually less than 200,000 from what I can tell. They're all like 175,000 and 100,000. So already compared to Overdrive, that is much cheaper. But unfortunately, Class D gets worse. Class C, it also gets worse. Class B, once again, it gets worse. The prices of cars do gradually increase as you go into higher classes. You know, that is actually pretty normal, but when you go to a Class D and you see a $2.5 million car, what the hell is that? Now, sure, that's one of the few in that class that's actually that much money. Everything else is about 400,000, around that price point at least, which is a little high when you take into consideration how much money you actually make. But is not nearly as high as Overdrive, which is why, once again, this is number 5 instead of number 6. But that doesn't mean that it's a good server. Now let's talk about performance and visual customization. Now, just like in Overdrive, customization is unbelievable. Take this G35 for example, which I hate those cars, but it's the one I had, so we decided to customize it. And the customization is fantastic. And I don't get how they can get this one thing right, but they just screw up everything else. And the pricing is also not that bad. So, easily affordable, easily attainable. And now we go to performance parts. Another reason why this is number 5 instead of number 6 is because it's not nearly as expensive as it is in Overdrive. Now, I say nearly. A little bit of an exaggeration. The best available engine cost 765,000 in-game cash, which once again is absolutely ridiculous. And just like last time, wait, there's more. The best transmission cost 800,000 in-game cash. You know, I really would like to sniff whatever the hell they're sniffing, because that is ridiculous. So there you go. That is the reason why Underground Stage is number 5 on the list so far. Moving on to number 4, World United. And just like what we've been doing with every one of these server reviews, we're going to start with earnings and progression. Money's actually pretty good in races, and as you can imagine, you make more money doing longer races. But here's the reason why this is number 4 on this list rather than number 3. TEs yield about the same results as you would a short race. Now, team escape ordinarily takes, what, like 5 to 7 minutes depending on which team escape you're doing. So the fact that you only get about as much as you would in another race is a little ridiculous. You don't spend all the time doing a team escape for just a small amount of cash, which I ended up getting. Now make it worse. Instead of getting the usual 2 or 4 people in the team escape when you do against AI, you get 8. Yeah, you heard that right. 8 players. And that made it so difficult against the AI, because the AI are complete idiots as it turns out. I got busted a number of times because the AI did something that completely messed me up. And that was unbelievably frustrating. My first attempt was actually a complete and utter failure. The second attempt, I didn't actually record, but I did get a screenshot of the earnings at the end, just to give you proof of what I'm saying is true. Now let's move on to performance and visual customization. Customization is, once again, an absolute win in this server. It actually surprised the hell out of me, because I wasn't expecting that from this server. For example, take a look at this Camaro. I was able to add a freaking blower to the hood. That is ridiculous. That is so cool. It's like I said, I was expecting so much worse, and it absolutely blew my mind. I love it. Now, we're going to go to another reason why this server is number 4 on his list. The cost of engine parts. Now, because of this, I actually wanted to rank it lower on the list, but everything else is so well done. It's so well balanced. It's not crazy over the top like it used to be. I had to put it up higher because it's more balanced than the other ones. 4.5 million in in-game cash? Are you serious? That's just for the best engine. And the Skill Workshop is no better. Even though I haven't really been talking about the Skill Workshop, it's ridiculous, overpriced in the Skill Workshop as well. And those are my reason why World United is number 4 on this list. Moving on to number 3, World Evolved. Starting with earnings and progression, in this server, it isn't looking too good. Just like the other servers, you make more money and XP from doing longer races than shorter ones. Now when it comes to team escapes, well, I couldn't tell you. The team escapes in this server are online only, meaning that I couldn't do it in single player, which preferably I would like to do it in single player. So I started up a queue and waited for somebody to join, and nobody joined. So I was unable to see how much you might make from a team escape. Now, if you know the answer to that, please, for the love of God, put it in the description below. I would like to know how well the earning is in team escapes versus races. Now, the reason why I say it isn't looking too good is because of the car dealer. Overall, the prices in a car dealer aren't that crazy, at least in Class E. The lowest price that I saw was about $125,000, the highest being $190,000. In the following class, the highest price I saw for a normal car was $325,000. Now I say normal because there's a few cars in there that cost over $1 million in that class, and I don't know why. The prices grow in size the higher in class that you get, which once again is pretty normal, just about any server. Now, like one other server, there are a few cars that do cost considerably more. But if I had to guess, that's probably because they are desirable. At that price tag, they're definitely not desirable for me, that's for sure. You got one that costs $1.5 million. Like, that's an Integra. A Honda Integra. In the States, in, the real world, it doesn't cost anywhere near that much. Not even a quarter of that. Maybe like 0.01% of that price. Now, let's talk about performance and visual customization. The parts in this server for normal parts are very well priced. The most expensive engine being about $96,000. I say normal because just below are these prototype engines, ranging from $125,000 to $210,000 in-game cash. These parts focus on specific stats. The prototype engine focuses primarily on top speed, which is actually pretty cool. I think the prototype force induction focuses primarily on acceleration. Now, this is very different from any other server that I've seen, and like I said, it's very, very cool in my opinion. Now, when it comes to customization in the server, it's actually pretty good. Just look at this VW bus. Yes, I said VW bus. I put a giant wing on it. It's got a few body kits you can choose from, and the rim selection is incredible. Much better selection than any other server that I've seen so far. And those are the reasons why this server is number 3 on the list. Moving on to number 2, Spark server. The earnings and progression in this server is a little bit different from the other servers. In races, obviously the longer the race, the more money you get. That's a given. But what makes it different is you get more XP than money in races. In team escapes, you make more money than XP, which I think this is quite a cool and obviously a very unique feature. I didn't expect to actually see something like this in Need for Speed World. In ways, it reminds me of Need for Speed Heat and how you made more money at night than you did during the day. Or was it the other way around? I'm not entirely sure. Now let's move on to performance and visual customization. Customization in this server is easily one of the best out of all the servers. Just take this Buick Grand National for example. And the body kits you can add, the hoods, everything looks like it came straight off a newer Need for Speed game, which obviously Need for Speed customization is on point. It always has been. So the fact that they took newer customization from newer games and put it in this one, that's just awesome in my opinion. So customization is a win. Performance costs are actually pretty good in this server. They're actually on the cheap side, especially when compared to other servers. A little more than the last one we checked out, but still, it's $100,000 for the best engine. And it's only $64,000 for the best transmission, which kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting it to be that low. Now, let's talk about the car dealer. This car dealer is easily the cheapest out of all the servers so far, including the one that we're going to be reviewing as number 1. I mean, I would never want to own a 1963 Mini Cooper, but it's an option. Now, the max price in Class E is $100,000 in cash, which is incredibly cheap. And then when you go to Class D, the max price in there is $200,000. Class C, $300,000. Class B, $400,000. After it gets to Class A and Class S, the price kind of goes up a little bit more, but it's not that expensive. In fact, you can get an Aston Martin Valkyrie for $1 million in cash, which is an absolute bargain. Now, I know you got to be wondering, why the hell is this one number 2? The reason is, it's a little too easy. See, as you level up, obviously you get more money and XP from races. Now, the problem is you start to make much more money at a very fast rate as you get to a higher level. That's not really a problem, but it is a problem depending on your point of view. Most people don't really want the game to be that easy. Like, it's too easy. And you may start to make excessive amount of money at the higher level you go. It gets to the point where it's like, why am I still playing? It gets boring after a while, and which is why I don't try to play it excessively, because I know I'll get bored of it, and I don't want to do that. I absolutely love this server. Well, there you go. That's why this server is number 2 on this list. Moving on to number 1, Nightriderz. Now, if you've gotten this far, thank you. I put a lot of time and work into these videos in hopes that will help somebody. And I did my best to be objective when reviewing these servers. For me, editing is a passion and likely will always be. I didn't put all this work into this hoping that I'd get views, you know? Anyway, enough of that. Let's take a look at earnings progression in the Nightriderz server. This server is a little bit of a grind, but is immensely better than, say, worldunited. But it's not as easy as the Spark server. It's more or less right in the middle. Just like every server, you make more money in XP in longer races than you do in short races. The higher level that you are, the more you make, also just like every server. The increase in how much you make as you level is more gradual and more balanced. Alright, so money in XP isn't that bad. Now let's talk about the car dealer. In the car dealer, pricing for cars between classes are right in the middle. They're basically priced in direct correlation with your level and how much you make. The only time cars might feel a little bit overpriced is when they get into higher classes, like S1, S2, and X classes. The 3 highest classes in the server, which is not bad. This is very well balanced already. Like I said, it's right in the middle with just about everything. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about performance and visual customization. Okay, so when it comes to the customization, you're only really going to see the nice customization when it comes to the cars that were added after the fact, you know, after the Soapbox Race World started. Like this Golf, for example, the body kits, the spoilers, the hoods look absolutely insane. And I love the way this car looks, especially when compared to any car in this class. Now, when it comes to the cars that were originally a part of the game, you gotta deal with that little early 2000s vibe that came with it when it comes to customization. Now, when it comes to performance costs, they're nearly identical to the cost in the Spark server. Actually, for the engine, it's priced a little less, at about $96,000 in-game cash. And when it comes to the transmission, it costs slightly more, at about $98,000 in-game cash. So when it comes to the performance cost, it's about the same as the Spark server, which actually is a good thing. I mean, everything else, it costs a little more than the Spark server, but when it comes to performance, that sounds like a win to me. Now, let's talk about why I chose this game as number 1 on this list. Obviously, we got the other things that kind of help it. The only downfall being customization. Everything else is very good, but that's not the main reason. Like, that plays a huge role in why it's number 1 for me, but not the main reason. The main reason this server is number 1 is because it's the only server that kept that original vibe from the original Need for Speed World. I mean, they kept everything. They kept the original skill workshop. They kept the original performance upgrades. They even added them in there so you can buy them instead of constantly having to win them. I mean, all the original cars are still there. They're still adding cars. I mean, it still feels like the original game, even with the way the cars drive. I can't really explain it better than that. That's really more of a feeling for me. And that's because I played the original game when it was out. You know, like I'm talking about way back in 2011, a year after its release. Well, there you go. There is the ranked list of the servers of Need for Speed World. Now, I know that just this list is going to upset a lot of people because not everyone is going to agree with me. They might have a different take on it. And you know what? If you want to have a friendly argument in chat that isn't overly aggressive, I'll mind. I'll probably just sit there and chat with you. But if you're going to sit there and be all aggressive, yeah, that message is not going to exist to me. That comment's just going to not be there. I'm not even going to delete it. Just going to ignore it. Well, I guess I'll see you guys out there. Deuces.